Welcome to part 2 of the router table series. In part 1 I've showed you how I've built the cabinet, installed the router motor, and if you haven't seen that video I highly recommend you check it out too. And now in part 2 I want to show you how I've built the fence. The fence is out of aluminum, it works super nicely and I really like it, and it's also heavy duty. I'm also going to show you how I've installed the tracks to accept the miter gauge and hold the fence into position. Now let's get started. I want the fence to be a few things. I want it to be sturdy, I want it to be square, and I want to have dust collection on it. To build the fence I bought some aluminum profiles, which are 30 by 120 millimeters of the B-type aluminum profile. This will make the front of the fence as well as the base. To connect the two aluminum profiles square, I also bought the 6mm aluminum square, and it will hold them precisely square. But before I start building the fence itself, I need the table to accept the fence. To hold the fence into position, I will use two of these C-tracks or T-tracks, however you want to call them, and I will route a slot into them. On the front, I will have perpendicular to them a double C channel, like that. And that will be so I can put feather boards that create pressure in this direction, or I can run my miter gauge in the slot. Actually, it's not necessary that the two channels are perfectly square to the plate or to the router bit, because it's a round tool. But it's essential that these two channels are parallel to each other, because if they go slightly like this or like this, the fence will not ride in smoothly all the way. I will use my track with a 90-degree attachment to it, place it over here, and then use the router guided on the track. Since I don't have a router bit that has the same size as the track, I will use an 8mm router bit, and with the micro adjustment sneak up on the fit, it should work pretty well. And when I have the first one done, I just simply remember how many times I turned this wheel, and then I can repeat it on the other. Okay, I've made two lines. This is where the channel will be, and this is where to register my track. And then clamp it tight. To set the proper depth of cut, I will lower my router until it hits the surface, like this. Clamp it tight, and then use the track itself to set the stop. I want it to be just a hair below the surface, because if it would stick up, the fence or my workpieces might catch on it. I will put in the track like this, and then add a playing card. One more trick I like to use when routing into plywood is to add a layer of tape, so I prevent tear out on the top, especially now with this up spiral bit. Micro adjust, I can now adjust it. I'm not quite there yet, close, but I will make another adjustment and another cut. Now that's a perfect fit. With the chisel I want to get rid of these little nozzles. Okay, that looks good. And now these tracks are still a bit too long. I'm gonna cut them at the miter saw. After that I won't screw the tracks to the table. I will use epoxy instead, because the screw holes can interfere with these springs, and then the fence does not slide smoothly. to be able to have the router bit in the fence, I will make a notch in here and also a notch into the square, so the dust collection from behind will work. I will do that with the jigsaw. I have a special blade that is meant for aluminum. I've never done this before. We'll see. Now these cuts are definitely not something to be proud of, but they will do just fine. There we go. And now I will knock down the edges with a file, so nobody will get hurt. Okay, nice. This works fine. The angled cut here, so it will just meet here in front and not at the back, so you won't have a gap. To attach the fronts now to the angled profile, we will drill some holes through here that will meet here right in the center of the slot, so we can screw them down and still have the sliding action here to make room for the bit or bury the bit in the fence as much as we need. Make a mark. 45 millimeters should be the center of the slot. I actually have a reference for the drill bit. I will make a punch here. Now the holes are actually a half a millimeter bigger than the screw, so I have a little bit of a room for an arrow. Alright, let's see if this fits. I'm a little bit nervous because metalworking is not my cup of tea usually. Alright, now let's insert them. Alright, that looks pretty spot on. Let's check the two wings. Doesn't look too bad, does it? Now a few things are left. To attach the fence to the table, I will use a T-nut and a threaded rod. We will glue the threaded rod into the T-nut. It will ride in the T-tracks here, and I have these star knobs that will secure the fence. The rod to go through the fence, we will need some holes. Another convenience feature for the fence will be two handles, and we need holes for them as well. After we made the holes for the threaded rods, and also for the handles, we will need a dust collection on the fence. To get the holes in the exact right location, I've put the fence onto the table, and here you can see there's the center of the T-track, and now I will transfer them to the fence. Just like that. And then over to the side where we will need the mark. The threaded rod has 8 millimeters, and I will use a 10 millimeter drill bit, so I have a little bit of a clearance and a wiggle room, and also can adjust the fence and it won't pinch on me. Alright, and now the second one. To attach the dust collection here, I took a few scrap pieces of MDF. One here with the cutout, two sides, top and the back, and this was actually the template I've used earlier. And it will go here. I can screw this connector down. I know this is by far not the nicest design, but it will still work. And since my dust collector is oversized for this application, also these sharp edges inside, they won't matter that much, and I will have enough suction down there to get the chips out of the way. Now I will just butt joint and screw them together with a bunch of screws, and then I will paint it black so it won't look that ugly. While the paint dries, I mix up some epoxy and finally glue in these T-tracks. Okay, let's mount the fence. You can see I've epoxied this thing here to the fence, and now I can attach my dust hose. Enough talking. Now let's make some sawdust and see the router table in action. I will roll it over to its final position there in my shop behind the table saw, attach the dust collection, and then we will see how the dust collection performs on the table. Okay, this is it for the router table series. Thanks for sticking along. Remember, if you want to build a router table yourself, the plans are in my store. You can also find a Kumiko set, a shooting board, or the domino station in the store. This is the best way to support what I do, and if you choose to do so, thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna leave you with a playlist of my other shop builds over here, and then see you in the next video. So unnecessary.